I'm what's called a natural telepath and empath. I was born this way. I didn't do any study. I had always this understanding that the trees are alive, that animals have feelings. And it was very difficult for me growing up, very, very difficult. My folks weren't exactly like me. One of the things that I'd like to do is to help you understand my perspective. And so I want you to imagine a very, very sensitive child who was raised with an ordinary family. This is a family that we thought that anybody who was psychic was somebody who had a crystal ball. We lived in the country, it was meat and 3 veg, and it was just an ordinary life. So here I am, this very ultra-sensitive child who was a natural telepath and empath. One day I was taken out the back with a duck. I was witness to this duck being killed with an axe, head chopped off, and not only did the dead body chase me around and around the yard with me screaming and screaming and screaming, but being me, being a natural telepath and empath and highly sensitive to other beings, I felt all that pain of that animal. There was anguish, there was complete fear. Oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm terrified. Paralyzing fear. Absolutely paralyzing fear from this duck. Ducks are intelligent. So are chickens. So I was there. Even now, it upsets me. I start to think about that duck and I get upset because I saw from her perspective, I went right into her body and I could see the axe coming. I was trying to get away. The axe came, I felt the lack of consciousness. I felt her spirit fly. No one can tell me that it's okay for a human being to kill another. If they're dying in fear, it is the wrong thing to do. And this goes from euthanasia to killing, to farm practices, anything. Hunting, shooting, sport, absolutely not okay. If any animal is dying in fear, because fear is not peace. So that was one of my first sort of experiences of understanding that stuff that comes in pretty little packets is actually living, beautiful, breathing, emotional being just like me. Intelligent, feeling. But that wasn't the only thing that was going on. I lived in a farming community. I had friends who were, their parents were farmers, and so all my life I had to deal with all the things that we do to animals. For example, when I was growing up, I went to stay at a cattle farm. One of the beautiful things was rounding up the cattle at night, walking with them, riding a horse. That was magical. Couldn't feel my legs or couldn't see them. And we're riding along and there's a feeling, with me anyway, of oneness with the horse and the cattle and outside at night. That was beautiful. But little did I know that they were being rounded up so that they could be dehorned and branded. So the whole of the next day I was screaming and screaming because the cattle were screaming and none of the other humans seemed to pay any attention. When I was growing up, they just called me too sensitive. They thought I was weird. But I felt the pain. I'm an empath. I felt the pain that the animals were feeling. The pain and the fear. They're just like us. And our farming practices today are still atrocious. They're still barbaric. And that was 40 years ago. So so there was other instances. I'll never forget going riding with some stockmen, and we were rounding up horses, and I was 10 years old, and suddenly I'm feeling all this pain in my mouth. And I look around, and there's the stockman doing this, you know, to their poor horses. And I see this in dressage all the time, equestrian sports all the time, you know, pulling, 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 because you want to control the horse. The horse's mouth was bleeding. We're putting a bit of iron in a horse's sensitive mouth. It hurts. And I went up to them and I said, "Your horse's mouth is bleeding." "Yeah, don't worry, mate, she'll be right." And I went, "But she's not. She's hurting." And they just rode off. And I became an animal advocate when I was 10 years old. Because of the things that I was experiencing. I couldn't stand it when I saw people behaving so cruelly to animals, and I kept thinking, why can't they feel that? Why can't they feel that? Why can't they understand that this animal has consciousness? This animal has feelings and emotions and feels pain and is really just like us. And not only did I feel this, but I heard them. I heard them screaming. So everything that happened to me in my childhood, growing up with farming communities and you know, just ordinary people doing their stuff, everything that happened made me who I am today. Well, it made me who I was then as well, because, like I said, from 10 I was always standing up for animals, even before then.